I think sometimes it's having, like we were talking about earlier, about having the tables thing.
Yeah,
you know, and having some kind of a strategy where they're all standing behind their tables quietly. The things are away. Maybe giving them a time limit to get into that situation, and then the tables that are, you know, in a sort of calm, submissive state are the first to leave. And then, you know, if they do it quite, you know, sort of in a non-rowdy way, you know, they're sort of waiting behind their tables, and then you know, you can say, oh, well, you're standing, you know, using the proximity phrase, you're standing nice and quietly, well, your table can leave, and then there's the pressure from everybody else.
They're all taking note. It's that peer thing again, isn't it? Doing lecturers now.
I did at the end of, I was with year 1s and 2s, it was the end of their lesson and they had to line up for assemblies, and they were quite noisy, and I gave each child a number card and they had to line up in number order without making any noise. So they had a task to do, so they were still focused, and they had to make sure that they were in line ready, so they had a time to do it and they had a task, and so they were focused, and they did it quite quickly, and because it was no noise as well, so it kind of took their mind off of, oh, we're being disruptive before we go to assembly, and they'd all lined up and they were all quiet, and because it was like a sense they had to work together to achieve something, and so it worked quite well. And I was like, right, well done, you've all managed.
I had a similar situation, but it was on the way to assembly as opposed to lining up. So what we did is, it was kind of like, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? So they'd all be lined up and you'd be walking along, and every time you glanced over your shoulder they'd stop, freeze and silence, and then you carry on walking, and then you do it again, and they're all... And they just... because it's still calming and keeps them quiet, but it's interesting and it's a challenge.
I think as well, if you cause at the end of the lesson, if it's a rush for them to get somewhere, so if it's a rush to get your bag and get behind your chair and get ready to go home, or a rush to get in the dinner queue because you're not going to be at the right table.
Anyway,
if you can take that element out by giving them just a few more minutes to do those things, or having them in a quiet state before they get ready to go home, you know, because everybody's excited to go home. Well, hopefully they're excited to go home. So something like by storytelling and then moving your groups off to go away, then they're in a nice calm state, and I'm sure parents are more grateful that